to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by. On the morning shift.
Anything
could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. I'm actually glad to be with you here this morning, live on CKLU 96.7 FM and all the other social media platforms as well. It's a miracle that I'm on at all, even close to the time that I'm supposed to be on. I kind of scrambled. So today is going to be a bit of a wing it as you go day, but you know, it's not all that different from a lot of other days. So that's got off to a little bit of a late start this morning, trying to get into work. Roads weren't the greatest and had to go a lot slower because I value my life. And so I had to make sure that I was traveling safe with the conditions. We'll talk about the weather in just a second, but I'd just like to say thank you to you all for making Sudbury News where you come in the mornings to kind of spend some time with us and have a conversation, part of our community conversation, where we talk about the issues and things in the news that are important to us locally, and sometimes a broader worldview of what's going on in the world or our country or our province. So again, 7:30, 8:30 in the morning so it's an hour we spend just chatting, and on the radio, 96.7 FM, as was mentioned. You can also stream us at cklu.ca, where you just go there and click on the Radio Player Canada app, and voila, it's a streamer opens, and you're able to just stream us, or you click on the Radio Player Canada app, you download the app, and you can take us with you and listen to us anywhere, anytime on your favorite device. Also, Facebook Live, facebook.com/Sudbury News, YouTube Live, youtube.com/Sudbury News. Lots to talk about today. I know, Brian, you did text me this morning, but I was frantically, good morning, Brian, frantically trying to get the show ready to go, and unbelievably, we're on kind of almost on time here. So that's a miracle, and I'm hoping for many other miracles to take place today. So let's get on with the show. Let's start with some weather, and we'll get right into it. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, follow, and especially comment today if we're talking about something that you have something you want to say about what we're talking about. Feel free. This is a safe environment, even if you totally disagree with what I might be saying. If I'm giving my point of view, don't feel that if you have a different point of view that's not welcome. It is. Other points of view are actually more welcome, because we don't all think the same, and I think that's a great thing. And good morning, David. Yes, the weather is very yucky out there today, and fortunately I was able to drive according to the conditions coming into work today. So let's talk about those conditions. Weather brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. We'll be right back after this. Yeah, so currently it is -9, feels like -17, and that's true. It does feel like -17, especially when you're taking all the snow off your car and you didn't put your gloves on and your hands go numb. It definitely feels like -17 out there. Other than that, what my car was telling me on my way to work, that it was 0 most of the way. So not sure. I'm just going to refresh this page again. I already did. We'll just, okay, yeah, they're saying it's -9. and it feels like minus 17. According to my car's temperature gauge, it was 0. But again, it was snowing for most of the time when I was leaving the city on my way west of the city. And today we can expect periods of light snow ending this morning, then cloudy with 30% chance of flurries. The wind north, 20 kilometers, becoming light this afternoon, high of minus 5, wind chill minus 14 this morning, and then minus 9 this afternoon. Tonight, cloudy, wind up to 15 kilometers, very mild wind. Low of minus 10, wind chill near minus 13. Saturday, cloudy, 40% chance of flurries in the afternoon, wind becoming southwest, 20 kilometers late in the morning, high of minus 5, wind chill minus 15 in the morning, and minus 9 in the afternoon. And then looking at your, your 7-day forecast, you got, again, tomorrow minus 5, 40% chance of flurries. Sunday, chance of flurries, 60%, and then minus 2 is the high. Monday, sunny. Can't believe it. I won't believe it until I see it. But that's what they're telling us. Minus 4 is your high on Monday. Tuesday, back to a 40% chance of flurries. Minus 4 is your high. And then Wednesday, 60% chance of flurries. Minus 9. The high. And then Thursday, minus 12 is the high. Mix of sun and cloud. So anywhere between minus 2 and minus 12 for the next 7 days. But minus 5 tomorrow, minus 2 Sunday, minus 4 Monday. So basically between minus 2 and minus 4 for the foreseeable future. And a little bit of a look at your satellite overhead over all of northern Ontario, all the way from Manitoba into Quebec, all the way up to James Bay, all the way pretty much down to Barrie, Owen Sound. Satellite looks like mostly cloud cover, a little bit of clearing in the far north. Other than that, mainly cloudy everywhere. So if you're traveling outside of Sudbury, unless you're driving to Thunder Bay or north of Timmins or south of Barrie, you're going to be in clouds. So that is your Sudbury weather, brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. We'll be back with some sports right after this. All right, Sudbury Sports brought to you by that Sudbury Sports guy, Randy Pascal. His website is sudburysports.com. I was supposed to look that up. So yeah, in my franticness of getting ready today, I was supposed to have the 5 game, the score from the 5 last night they played. So Sudbury 5, I should put into here, Sudbury 5. There you are. All right, let's see what the Sudbury 5 did last night as they were in action against the London Lightning. And we're just scrolling down, and hopefully we'll get there. Oh, we only have what it was at the half. So I'll refresh just in case. At the half, we were winning. So that's what we have for you in terms of the latest from the Sudbury 5. So it was 48 Sudbury 5, 35 Lightning. So sorry, I'm not able to update you. Oh, here we go. Game 4 highlights. Sudbury 5, 86. Lightning 83. So yes, they just had it as the highlights for the game. So here you go. Here's the last little bit of the highlights for you from the Sudbury 5.
Mosby Jr. open 3, nothing but nylon. Thomas goes for the 2 and he missed it when they were down by 3. The buzzer goes. The Sudbury 5 have pulled off the victory, 86-83. It's Scott.
There you go.
It's Edward.
So there you go. Sudbury 5 comes out as winners. They begin their season 4-0 now. That's pretty incredible if you ask me. 4-0. So let's check in to see when their next game is. So next game, let's see. So they're now 4-0. They will return home to the arena Sunday, February the 12th to face the Newfoundland Rogues for a special 3 p.m. start time. It's Super Bowl Sunday, so fans are invited to join in some pregame tailgating with games to win prizes. The pre-show will also be shown on the video board prior to the game. So tickets for all regular season home games are on sale now. greatersudbury.ca/tickets and at the Sudbury Arena box office. Fans can still secure their 2023 season memberships also at the Sudbury Arena box office and online at greatersudbury.ca/tickets starting at only $300, $299 plus HST for the remaining 15 regular season games. Fans can check out all new benefit packages at the5.ca. That's the 5.ca. Starting the season 4-0, no less. So they have a strong beginning to the season. It's always great when you have a winning team. And here you got the Wolves in action as well. They're in action tonight. They're facing the Hamilton Bulldogs at the arena here. I'm heading to the game myself, so if you happen to see me, and yes, good morning, Dario. How you doing, Dario? Glad to have you on. Thanks for being with us. Talking about the Five with their 4-0 beginning to the season. I can't believe it. Pretty incredible stuff. And good morning, Cindy. Thanks for being with us as well. So Wolves are in action tonight. Hamilton Bulldogs, the puck drop, 7:05. Get out to the game. It's a great night out, great entertainment on the ice as well as off the ice. And if you can't get to the game, though, for some strange reason, CKLU will have it on air tonight, 7:05. Catch the game. Wolves are doing really great this season. We're making a push for the playoffs and fighting to climb the hockey standings. Huge game tonight. Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what I'm talking about, Dario. So we're going to get her done. That's what it is, right? I don't know how many times, if you've been into sports at all, and a lot of people watching this morning could either do or do without sports, but, really, if you follow sports at all, you know that at the beginning of the season sometimes actually doesn't mean much. You could be just getting your mojo going. There's many, many teams throughout history, NHL or other leagues that just basically are just getting their chops, and then all of a sudden have a really strong run at it and end up, having a really winning season. So we're hoping for that for the Sudbury Wolves. They look like they got what it takes to get it done. So you can catch them tonight, Sudbury Arena, 7:05, Hamilton Bulldogs. Then in action on next game against the Battalion on Sunday, as far as I know. It's usually an afternoon game, but go to SudburyWolves.com to check out all the latest for the Sudbury Wolves. And hopefully we'll see you at the game tonight. Again, if you see me there or whatever, because I may not recognize you, you may have an advantage by seeing me if you're not listening on the radio. If you're watching on social media, just come on up and we can have a little chat. It would be great to see you out at the game. So go Wolves go tonight. That's your Sudbury Sports, brought to you by SudburySports.com. Randy Pascal, that Sudbury Sports guy, and his website, SudburySports.com. We'll be back with headlines right after this. Starting today's headlines with a rather sad bit of news. The Sudbury Star will no longer have a brick and mortar location here in the city. I don't know I know news is very hard business to be in these days, and this just kind of, and with everybody working from home this past few years, I think they're just going to go through some cost savings here. The writing's on the wall. Just, you don't really need a brick and mortar place to have a news organization. However, it just seems like it's a little bit sad news to know that they're not going to have an actual location anymore. And CTV has covered this rather well, so we'll just check in with CTV's coverage on this story. We'll be back right after this.
The slow decline of the newspaper business in Northern Ontario continues. The Sudbury Star, which left its building long ago to rent a small space, is now giving up that lease. It means there will be no more physical presence for the local paper in Sudbury. The newspaper owner, Post Media, says many Sudbury Star employees have been working remotely since 2020. It says it made the decision to cut costs after a review of real estate holdings. Unifor, which represents the paper's workers, calls this a sad blow to journalism in Sudbury and in Canada.
Media workers need a place to work, but we need journalism to be supported, and that's going to be our focus here on the journalists and the media workers. And so that'll be our focus. We have rights and we'll fight for them.
And the Sudbury Star's lease will be up on February 28th. This comes as Post Media has also now stopped publishing Monday editions in 9 more Canadian cities.
Yeah, very sad news as the newspaper business is taking a hit, and we see locally it's no different today. And will newspapers become a thing of the past? Well, I believe by and large, obviously that's the trend. However, you know how vinyl is making a comeback with records. I honestly do believe, unless it's mandated by the government, you know how straws now, plastics are going to be outlawed. They could at some point just outlaw the use of paper if you deem it, contrary to some of the climate policies that have been rolling out. Other than that, if you don't see that happen, then yes, I do believe that communities will have some sort of paper news, just like we still have vinyl, and there's people that still collect vinyl, and it's making a comeback. Now they're making record players again. I think there's just people that just feel having that, piece of paper in their hands, like reading a book rather than having, on a Kindle or reading something digital. It just feels different. And so I do believe there will be a market for someone. Now, we don't have a community free paper anymore. When Village Media took over Northern Life and Sudbury.com, they made the decision, which is the owners of Sudbury.com, they started in Sault Ste. Marie. They have many news outlets throughout North America now. They're growing. They made the decision to pull the free paper from Sudbury some time ago. Sad day for that as well. And however, in the Sioux, they have a couple papers. I believe they at least have the one free paper. We talked about that before. But Sudbury, nothing. So Sudbury Star is the only gig in town with that. And I remember they had that huge building on Mackenzie Street beside the old CBC, Journal Printing right there. They printed the paper here in town. They had hundreds of employees doing various things, some in the printing aspect of things, some in the delivery end of things, journalism, operations, you name it. It was a huge outfit. And sad, we made the decision to print out of town. So then we lost those jobs. Then, other cutbacks, we didn't, things were being amalgamated. People could work centralized type of thing. So we lost that community, the community representatives of different jobs. And again, financially, if you're looking at the bottom line in these news companies, it really didn't make sense. However, what does end up suffering is local journalism, and that I think needs to bounce back. We need to. I think we're we're finding, hopefully this is the hitting the bottom of the worst it's going to be. And from here, we're going to start coming up that people will realize that local journalism is important. We'll all get involved and we'll all support more local journalism. Anyways, it is what it is. And that is the trend. Speaking of trends, Sudbury Cambrian College here in Sudbury is opening a new spiritual center. The facility contains a main room, cubicles for private prayer and meditation, and foot washing station. Interesting. In an effort to provide every opportunity for school life balance and a place for peace, contemplation. And yes, good morning, Claire. Thanks for being with us. Glad to have you. Glad to have you with us this morning. The Spiritual Center was an idea proposed by students, and I truly believe it will be a destination for students of any faith, denomination, or spirituality to worship and reflect, or for those just looking for a space that's peaceful on campus. And that was Gaston Contenoir. Hopefully I pronounced the name correctly. Cambrian College's manager of equity and diversity in a press release. The Spiritual Center contains a main room, cubicles for private prayer and meditation, and foot washing. The foot washing was what stood out to me, very interesting. The Spiritual Center provides a safe place for students. Yep. Both diversity and inclusion make us stronger as a campus community, and the official opening of the Spiritual Center is another step in recognizing the importance of spirituality, religion in overall health and well-being. I'm really glad we're beginning with this story because we're going to be unpacking a little bit of a deep dive today with the controversial decision by the Russian hockey player on the Philadelphia Flyers to not participate in the skate wearing the pride sweater. So, and then how that also moves into, where's the line in supporting things, and your own views that we have, where do we stand for things? Where do we then say, well, we need to include people even though they have different points of view? Where is that line? So anyways, I really like the way Cambrian College is handling this. It's just a place for everyone. Yeah, good morning, Julia. Thanks for being with us this morning. Great to have you on. Hope you're having a great morning. Located on the first floor of Cambrian's main Sudbury campus, just inside the former International Center, the Spiritual Center is open daily between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., so pretty much the whole day. With students coming to Cambrian from more than 40 countries, we appreciate that we have students from many different faith traditions and spiritual beliefs. Lynn Corville, president of Cambrian Student Council, said, "We want to accommodate students seeking a place to practice their faith and spirituality, connect with other students who may share those beliefs. Interested in learning more about the student life about student life and everything else Cambrian College, go to cambriancollege.ca." Glad to see that Cambrian is kind of forward thinking with things like that. I know the Indigenous Center there, really awesome. I work remotely, working from Espanola, and we had a really great presentation from some of the great folks there, and we did some smudging and educational, basically like an educational workshop on traditional beliefs and values, and I thought that was pretty incredible. So we share because we're very diverse in Canada to begin with, so we're sharing a lot of the things that we've come to know and believe and treasure in our lives, that are, I guess, the word sacred to us, with people coming from 40 different countries, and then they are then able to share the things that are very important to their traditions and beliefs and culture and things they would hold sacred type of thing, and so the more we're able to share these things, the more we're able to work together, I believe. So it's a really great thing. What is not a great thing is this story I was very reluctant to even share, and I don't know how much time I want to spend on it, but the headline is Rayside Balfour man who raped and abused his stepchild is quote unquote a monster. He forced the victim to drink urine and beat the child with a belt, among other crimes. That's what was heard in a Sudbury court. He also taped sex acts with the teen. So again, I don't know how much time or how much detail I want to get into this. However, I did want people to be aware of it. I wouldn't in any way, shape, or form. It's a very sensitive subject. I don't want to spend too much time on it. However, here we go. A Rayside Balfour man who raped and physically abused his stepchild, even forcing the child, as we said, to do those things, is going to be sentenced to a 7-year penitentiary term. On Wednesday, the Sudbury court, the stepfather pleaded guilty to 4 charges of assault with a weapon, a belt, touching for a sexual purpose a minor under 16 with a part of his body, genitals, inviting sexual touching by a minor under 16 as part of his body, genitals again, and making child pornography. The abuse occurred from November 2020 to June 2021 and came to light only by chance when the man's former wife came across a text message on his cell phone. It may seem harsh to you, but the aggravating facts in the case call for this sentence to be imposed. The Ontario Court of Justice Julie Lefebvre told the stepfather. Wow, I don't know. That's an interesting statement to make. It may seem harsh to you, but the aggravating facts in this case call for the sentence to be imposed. I don't know. I think some people in the comments anyways are calling for harsher sentencing for this particular person's actions. A sexual assault is always violent, a sexual assault is always violent, but in your case, you use physical violence. So I think it's supposed to say a sexual assault is not always violent. Anyways, you can read more about this. I don't want to spend too much time on it. So there was a sentence handed down to this particular person from Rayside Balfour, was found guilty, pleaded guilty, and now 7 years in a penitentiary is the sentencing for his actions. In other headlines, let's see if there's any comments on our feed here, and there are. Hopefully he gets the same in jail as someone's comment. Wow, I can't believe I even read this. Absolutely horrendous and disgusting. I think I agree with that comment there for sure. The Ontario Gaming Corporation, OLG, pledges another $463,000 to Greater Sudbury. The Ontario Lottery and Gaming Corporation's third quarter, October 1st to December 31st, payment to the Greater City of Sudbury was again $463,325. So this is the money that's promised back, to the community that comes out of the community from people gambling, right? So Claire says, many more pedophile stories showing up lately all over the place. Okay. Yes, I think you are right on that as well. And it's very sad. Very, very sad news. Yeah. My heart goes out, which is an understatement. My heart goes out to anyone who is affected by it. And I would plead with those that are inclined to want to act on promptings, how heavy or how tempting those promptings are. Anyone who wants to act on those, I would, with everything I have, urge you not to act on those urges, because it is devastating to those that you are committing those acts to. Hopefully, yes, he's put with other cellmates. He might not make it out alive, possibly. Yeah. So it seems like there's some themes going on today. The police service were subject to 49 public complaints in 2022. No, I say theme today. There's a bit of a, social accepted norms, not socially accepted things, the way to prosecute certain things when people go over the line. Where is the line? How do we determine a line these days when the line just seems to be very blurred in many ways? So 49 public complaints in 2022. That's where you actually officially go down and fill out a report and complain against something that a member of the Sudbury Police have done. Those numbers reflect well on the department, the police chief says. Greater Sudbury Police received nearly the same amount of complaints from the public in 2022 that it did the previous year. So I guess there's not a rise. On Wednesday, the police chief, Paul Pedersen, presented his annual report on public complaints to the police board under the Ontario Police Services Act. The chief of police is responsible for the administration of the complaint system and must regularly provide reports to the board for review. Pedersen said 49 complaints were filed against police services in 2022, an increase of 2 from 2021. Those complaints consisted of 73 allegations. Now, I don't know how that math works, but anyways. So there's 49 complaints, but there's 73 allegations within those complaints, I guess. Pedersen told the board those numbers reflected well on the service. He said, I just juxtapose that against how much contact we have with the public. He said, we do about 56,000 calls of service per year. We issue about 4,500 traffic tickets and arrest almost 6,000 people per year. Those numbers. Wow. It's too bad Billy wasn't on the show today, because I know we're talking about, it's great to have numbers when you're talking, like if you say, I think there's a lot of arrests that are made. I think the police are really busy, but you don't have the numbers to back that up. But you just kind of see it, hear it, and you got a feel for it. But here you got the numbers. So that's pretty incredible. High numbers. To finish off all those contacts with the public with the amount of complaints, less than 1%, I think really shows professionalism in our people. Members of the public are permitted to file complaints against municipal police services to the Office of Independent Police Review Board, a civilian agency that oversees investigation of police, in a quote-unquote objective and impartial manner. Complaints are divided into those related to police policies or services provided by the force and those involving the conduct of the officer. Greater Sudbury Police received 6 service complaints in 2022, while the remainder were related to officer conduct. While the Office of the Independent Police Review Board oversees investigations into complaints, many of those investigations are conducted by the Associated Police Service. So pretty educational for me too. I didn't realize that this is, kind of the way that it is handled. If you make a complaint, who handles them, how many times, who's behind it. Okay, well, thanks for being with us today, Claire. I really appreciate it. It's really cool on this show. Like a lot of those of you that are participating and commenting, and I really appreciate it. I know yesterday too, we had someone just say, you know what, I'm kind of on a range right now. I'm going to be checking out Claire. The same thing. Got to go for now. Check in later. Really appreciate it. Just, I don't know. It just goes to show that there's a pretty cool connection on the show, and I really do appreciate that. According to Pedersen's report, 28 of the 49 complaints received in 2022 were not dealt with and screened out after the Office of Independent Police Review Board determined they were, quote unquote, frivolous vexations, or vexatious, that's a word, made in bad faith or determined by the director not to be in the public interest to pursue. 6 complaints were withdrawn by the complainant after discussion with the professional standards investigators. So it goes to show, 1 complaint was resolved with the complainant through the Office of Independent Police Review Board's information resolution process, meaning a formal hearing was not conducted. 9 complaints remain under investigation and will be completed in 2023. So out of those 49, only 9 are still being looked into. All the other ones were resolved. So that's good news to know that that's going on. And I, you know what, I've had bad instances, bad kind of things happen. I've had bad experiences with police officers. I've had good experiences with police officers. Part of the bad experiences I will have to take responsibility for were probably my own doing, instigating, asking too many questions, being a little bit whatever, irritated or whatever with how the process was going. Hey, good morning, Cliff. Thanks for being with us, my friend. And and then I've also had really great experiences. And I have to say, even though maybe I was not on my game, the officer involved was very patient and just set the tone. And then I was able to I used to own a delivery service, and I was racing around town all the time trying to get to places on time. And, and it just seemed like the police were very on the ball. And any little thing I did that wasn't whatever, it just seemed like there was just someone at the right time in the right place to see me do something. Like I would go from one house 3 doors down, get in my car and go to the next, and I wouldn't put my seatbelt on. It was just 3 doors down. Happened to be a police officer just watched me get in my car without putting my seatbelt on to go 3 doors down. And that conversation then would be obviously, sorry, officer, but I'm just delivering. And so I have to get out of my car here, and I'm just getting out of the car 3 doors down. Do I really need a seatbelt? And then the officer would say, he would quote how many times people get in accidents and how dangerous it is. And I said, yeah, but really 3 doors? Did any of these accidents happen 3 doors down when that's all they had to drive? So when an officer's not having common sense in a conversation, that then got my back up and things like that. But I know all of us could probably spend time on good and bad instances with the police. However, maybe it's just that I'm getting older. Maybe I'm driving less. Maybe I'm more patient if I do encounter some of Sudbury's finest. I find they do a really, really great job. So, so Cliff drives truck for a living. 99% of my experiences with the law enforcement were good. It's all in your own attitude. Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what I said in the beginning. It was probably me being a little bit, having a little bit of a bite, and my attitude needed to have a little bit of an adjustment. However, so today we talked about the snowfall, right? That's just the weather story. Snowfall is in different places. I know west of the city, there was no snowfall this morning, but in Sudbury, quite a bit. But sticking with the police, 8 constables sworn into Greater Sudbury's police services, including 2 couples. 8 constables, 2 couples at Wednesday's police board meeting to replace outgoing members. So yeah, we have some new additions. So I'd like to just welcome those new officers. I know they were looking at 24 altogether that they wanted to add to our police body of police officers here in town. Laurentian enrollment down 4% year over year. Sudbury's University recently exited creditor protection after 22 months, a process that have damaged LU's enrollment. This is a story by Heidi Ulrichsen, which I highly respect. Her coverage on this has been stellar, second to none on the whole LU going through that whole process over the last few years. Great reporting. I'd love to have her on the show. So if you're listening, Heidi, I'd love to have you come on sometime. You just seem like a really thorough reporter. Laurentian University has avoided a potential worse backslide in its enrollment figures this school. Laurentian University avoided a potentially worse backslide in its enrollment figures this school year thanks to strong uptake of its graduate programs, most especially among international students, as well as domestic students taking fully online programs. In November, Laurentian finally exited insolvency restructuring under the Company's Creditor Arrangement Act, or CCAA, after 22 months under creditor protection, a process that has damaged Laurentian University's enrollment, among many other impacts. 2021, Laurentian's enrollment dropped 14% year over year. And student enrollment, which stands at 5,729, and its student head count, which stands at 7,711 students. So the full-time students are almost 6,000, and then altogether, it's just under 8,000 students. Full-time students is a calculation showing how many students will be attending if all enrolled full-time. Yeah, like we just said. So Laurentian has actually lost more than 1,300 full-time students since 2020, when that number used to be a little over 7,000. In terms of headcount, Laurentian has lost more than 1,600 students since 2020, when it had a headcount of almost 9,500 students, 9,323 students. Laurentian was actually expecting an overall Laurentian was actually expecting an overall year-over-year decline of 14% this fall, which means LU's enrollment was 11% above that which was anticipated. I guess that's the good news, silver lining. It isn't as bad as what we thought it could have been. However, there's going to be a lot of work to take to fix Laurentian's reputation, because how do you avoid, when you're trying to attract students to your university, the fact that you just recently came through a bankruptcy? That's hard to do, right? So, hey, would you like to come to our university? And then you don't mention anything. Oh yeah, we just went through bankruptcy. You have to kind of say it in your recruiting, or people know it already. There's people that talk. There's people that, a lot of going to Laurentian is referrals. Like, I went to Laurentian, you should go there too. There's a lot of that goes on. People recommending it. And since it went through what it did, I don't know if the recommendations are as high these days. Now, speaking of recommendations, here's a story from the Sudbury Star. Cancel culture comes for the living and the dead. So Peterson, Provorov, and Sir John A. MacDonald. So a little bit of our culture today and how it's affecting us, wanting to know where the line is, a little bit of a deep dive today, where the lines are. I know I've spoken to Facebook moderators, YouTube moderators, wanting to know what is sayable, what is doable, what is thinkable, I guess you can even say, in today's day and age, of the side that says saying certain things hurt certain people, doing certain things hurt certain people, thinking certain things hurt certain people. And so we need to rethink what we say, do, and think, and what is at the end of the tunnel? Like, what are we trying to accomplish here? What is going on? Like, what are the arguments for these types of things? And to just go right into it, let's just get Brian Lilly. He has a bit of a commentary. He's works for Sun News and talks about the recent incidents with Jordan Peterson in Ottawa at one of his speaking engagements and some of the things that were said surrounding that. We'll be back right after this.
Enemies of free speech targeting Dr. Jordan Peterson once again. Hi, I'm Brian Lilly, political columnist for the Toronto Sun. Whether you agree with Dr. Jordan Peterson or disagree with him, whether you love him or hate him, shouldn't he be entitled to free speech in this country? It's guaranteed in our charter, but some people are looking to once again target Dr. Peterson and stop him from speaking in public, and they want to use the government or a government agency to do it. We've already talked about the issue of the College of Psychologists of Ontario trying to tell Peterson he has to undergo re-education training or lose his license as a psychologist for things he said on Twitter, things that have nothing to do with the practice of psychology. That's what started the investigation. Now, a coalition of groups is asking Ottawa City Council to vote with them to say that Peterson should be banned from speaking in that city on January 30th. Peterson is on part of a book tour for his latest book called Beyond Order, 12 More Rules for Life, and he's scheduled to speak at the Canadian Tire Centre. This is a privately owned arena. One of the arguments that they're using is Peterson appearing there would go against the NHL's equity and inclusion policy. Therefore, he should be shut down. But listen to what the coalition also says, according to this story from the Ottawa Sun. As we approach the one-year anniversary of the so-called Freedom Convoy, the last thing we need in our city is a spokesperson of the far right taking center stage in our city. That, according to Jamie Sadgrove, manager of communication and advocacy for the Canadian Centre for Gender and Sexual Diversity. It's one of many groups that have signed on to this letter calling for Peterson to be banned, to stop him from speaking in Ottawa. Why allow a Canadian to speak? Why allow an internationally acclaimed author to speak when you can just shut him down and try and use the government's powers to do so? Thankfully, they don't have powers over the Canadian Tire Centre, which is still owned by the Melnick family after the passing of Senator's owner Eugene Melnick. We'll see what they do there, but hopefully they stand firm and say, no, you can't bully us into who can and can't speak. I want to give you an idea of who else is on this list. Other signatories include the Council of Canadians, Horizon Ottawa, which is a left-wing advocacy group, the Centretown Community Health Centre, the Ottawa Coalition to End Violence Against Women, and the Ottawa Historical Fencing Society. I guess he offends fencers? I'm not quite sure. Look, Peterson is not everyone's cup of tea, and you don't have to agree with everything he says to realize that this is a dangerous path to go down. He's going to be speaking about his new book, and let me just bring up some of the chapters of his new book. Okay, Rule 1, do not carelessly denigrate social institutions or creative achievement. Rule 2, imagine who you could be, and then aim single-mindedly at that. Rule 3, do not hide unwanted things in the fog. Rule 4, notice that opportunity lurks where responsibility has been advocated. These are pieces of advice for living a fulfilling life. There's nothing far right about it, and I would actually reject the idea that Jordan Peterson is part of the far right. This is just a tag that they want to put on him to denigrate him, to say that he has unacceptable views. Unacceptable views. Where have we heard that before? This is a ridiculous situation playing out in the nation's capital, one that we should be speaking out against, just like we should speak out against the College of Psychologists of Ontario ordering him into re-education training. This is a slippery slope that we're on, and one that if we don't stand against, will just become a full-out drop-down water slide that will take out anyone who steps outside of what is considered politically accepted, politically correct speech. Let me know what you think. Drop a comment down.
So where have we heard that before? Re-education. I don't know. Let's see. I read a book in public school, grade 8, I believe it was. Our teacher wanted us to read a book called 1984. And I'll never forget some of the the themes that are in that book. Recently, in recent history, there's a lot of the things that I remember reading in there that are kind of things I'm hearing today and seeing today. And one of them is re-education. So the main character in the book is not thinking the way that his government wants him to think. He's being found to do things like his neighbors are telling on him, kind of like what we saw over the last couple of years when we were encouraged to tell on our neighbors if they were gathering more than 5 or 6 people in a house. We were supposed to call a number and tell on them. Same thing in that book. There was that. So this character had been told on. He was caught, seen doing something. He was brought to a re-education camp, and because they didn't want to do away with the character, because then that would make that character a martyr to other people, and so they didn't want to be seen as doing that. So they would re-educate you, put you back in society. So if you were influencing anyone before with your thoughts that were against what society wanted you to think, or the powers that be, then you would be just saying the same things that they were saying, and any kind of people that were following you before or were thinking of doing the same thing would then they would say, oh, you used to think like that, but you don't think like that anymore. Oh, okay, I guess I'll just keep thinking the way everyone else wants me to think. And so what kind of a society were we at? I love Cambrian College's the way that they're approaching the idea of people that are different, who may have different views, people who come from a different background. How can a view can only become unacceptable if it's going to do harm to somebody else? Breaking a law would kind of come into that category. Even when we get into debates, and if you don't agree with someone, could that be deemed as hurting someone's feeling or being offensive? Does that break a law if you don't agree with someone's opinion? I would hope that a lot of people don't agree with my opinion, because that then means I might have something to learn from someone else, and they may have something to learn from me. You ever think you had the greatest recipe for something, and then you tasted somebody else's something like that, and you're like, wait a minute. Let's take chili, for example. You have your chili, someone else has a chili. Have you ever for once tasted someone else's chili and go, holy crap, even though I have an amazing recipe, one of the best I've ever tasted, and a lot of people tell me it's one of the best chilies they've ever tried, your chili is amazing in a different way. Amazing. It's just amazing, but in a different way. And many of us have the same things to bring to the table in terms of our views. It's just as amazing, but in a different way. And so a lot of people are trying to shut down other people's points of view. And Lily's just making a point about, he's reading some of the chapters, headlines, not headlines, but the rules in his book. He came up with 12 rules for life. Basically, the idea was like, one of the things was like, clean your room. If you have a cluttered room, a cluttered life, how can you feel organized, or how can you feel motivated to do anything? Things like that. Very simple rules for life. And this is his follow-up book to that. Just kind of guidelines to having an effective life and a meaningful life, a life with meaning. So Brian just chimes in here about the comment about Laurentian University, saying that he was thinking of going back to school, and Laurentian was on his list, but today he's having second thoughts about that. And also Cliff shares a link to do with something with what we were just talking about in the comments. So feel free, everyone, and I would encourage everyone to just check that out. I'm going to check it out later. So yeah, thanks for sharing, guys. Thanks for being with us today. Thanks for going down this road with us, Sudbury News. Thanks for being part of the conversation, liking, sharing, subscribing, following, all that stuff. We really appreciate it. We appreciate you, and we appreciate CKLU for allowing us to be on the show. And all the views expressed on this show do not necessarily reflect those of Laurentian University, which CKLU is a part of, or those of CKLU particularly. They are that of Sudbury News, of myself alone, and any comments that I've said on the show are your comments. And as you share your comments, you know that I'll be sharing them on air as well. And so if you ever don't want those to be shared on air, then you wouldn't comment, because I'm going to be sharing as many of those as possible. So thanks for being with us. Really appreciate you. This is your show, and this is another video. So Cliff's sharing a couple for us today. So lots to unpack after the show. We'll continue Monday, same time, same place. Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU. Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend. Go Wolves, go tonight, taking on the Bulldogs at the Sudbury Arena, 7:05 puck drop. See you there. We'll be back on Monday to talk about hopefully a couple wins for the Sudbury Wolves this weekend. And Diana says, we'll check on the rewind. Okay. Thanks, Diane. And yes, all these shows will be up on Sudbury.news. You just click on the Sudbury News Talk link. You can catch it there. YouTube.com/Sudbury News or Facebook.com/Sudbury News. If you missed the show, you can catch it there as well. Have a great weekend, everyone. Ciao.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.